Welcome to Ready for the Weekend episode 5, the show where myself and Kev run through 5 of our must-see sports events for the weekend, give our predictions, and usually mess them up horribly in my example. Last week Kev beat me 3-1, expanding his lead for the series, and coming up this week we have events in MMA, football and rugby. We hope you enjoy. Kicking off this week with the UFC 262 main event for the vacant lightweight title between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Now, these are two super contrasting individuals. Oliveira on an absolute tear in the UFC, 8-fight win streak, submission machine. I think it's the record for most submissions in the UFC, pretty much exclusively chokes. So much so that you'd swear he was having a bit of a fetish there, because, seriously, almost every time. Rear naked, guillotine, triangles, anacondas, you name it, he can pull off that choke, and he's doing it against super high level guys like nobody else in that division. Very much a man amongst himself, in that body and frame built for tapping guys out. Chandler, on the other hand, this compact, heavy hitting guy with a super high level wrestling background that has taken the UFC by storm. Rightfully or not, after one fight in the UFC he's got himself a title shot, and I honestly think he's got a really good chance of beating Oliveira. I think they're two styles that match up really well against each other. They offer completely different games, and they're going to be a challenge for each other to figure out. I just think that Chandler, with that fast start, he has 3 straight first round knockouts, and while I don't think he's going to knock Oliveira out in the first, I do think he's going to put him away inside the 5 rounds.
UFC, we have Charles Oliveira and we have Michael Chandler, who 2 fighters who have different fighting backgrounds and 2 fighting abilities. Charles, who's been doing very well since 2018, 8 wins, a lot of them with submission. You can see he's very, very skillful in MMA, and he seems to keeps going. I don't see him going any less. And we have Chandler, who's just getting into the UFC with just 1 fight and already going for the belt, but he is very, very strong, and his punches are very, very hard, and it's very, very hard to tell from these 2 fighters who's going to win it. I'm actually going to go for Chandler. I don't know why, but even with his lack of UFC experiences, I still think he can actually pull off. From looking at his highlights, he's basically going full in beast mode, and probably actually go for the win. But again, I have no idea, but I'll have a quick look at it and see who will actually win.
Next up, we are hopping over to Italy for the Roma Lazio game, the Rome derby. They're always eventful, to say the least. Roma having a bit of an off season. They're very much on the back burner now. Not an awful lot to play for outside of solidifying that Conference League spot if they want it. But they're very much just sort of counting down the days until Mourinho steps in, and hoping that they can steady the ship. Lazio, on their other hand, they're 6th, pretty much nailed on for a Europa League spot here. Lazio going to be without Milinkovic-Savic. Apparently it's a nasal fracture, so presuming he's going to be unavailable for this one, unlikely to feature at all. Whereas Roma, they have quite the injury crisis on their hands. According to Transfermarkt, they're without goalkeeper Pau Lopez, Chris Smalling, Zaniolo, El Shaarawy, Spinazzola and Vertu. Not looking great for them, very, very disrupted through the injuries. Also by the fact that Lazio beat them 3-0 back in January. I really don't see them, with that amount of injuries, being able to better a result like that, where they got absolutely thumped. Both sides have their main star player fit, though. Henry Mkhitaryan very much been the main guy for Roma this season, double figures goals and assists. Meanwhile, Ciro Immobile is just absolutely banging goals in for Lazio, as has become a pretty consistent occurrence. He's leading the team with 19 this year, sitting I think it's 5th in the goal scoring rankings. But yeah, I think this one, it's just going to be too much for Roma. Heavily affected by injuries. Season a bit of a waste of time at this point. They're as good as finished. And I think Lazio do them again. I'm going to say a 2-0 win.
We have a derby in the Serie A. We have Roma and Lazio going head to head. Roma, after a very very poor season, would need to leave the end of the season in a high. Very very poor, even with the talent they have in their squad. It's unfortunate what position they actually are going to fall in. Their chance of actually winning the Europa League was of course dismantled by Manchester United a couple of weeks. So their chance of actually going to playing a high competition next season is now going to be slim to none. But they could still actually end in a high against a win against Lazio, who would be doing very well. Pretty decent season, unfortunately, unlike last season. Even with their star midfielder Savic, they'll be doing very very well. I'm gonna give it a draw, 1-1. In derby games, you just cannot see the outcome. You just can't predict it. With derby, no matter what position you are, rivalry comes first. So I'm going to leave to a 1-1, but we'll see how that goes.
Right, so next up we are sticking with continental football as Lille attempt to nail down the Ligue 1 trophy. It's good to see someone other than PSG doing it, but even with 2 games to go, they're not fully out of contention yet. Lille, if they can get past Ettiene this week and then Angers next week, the title is theirs. PSG lurking closely behind, with a better goal difference, just sort of waiting for Lille to slip up, but those 2 games they've got left should be doable. This Lille team is super interesting now. I mean, they have got firepower in their team. Yilmaz with 15 goals this season, David with 12, Bamba 6 goals, 11 assists. They really do have a lot of weaponry, on top of only conceding 22 goals in 36 games. They've really sort of hit that sort of nice balance of enough firepower to drive them forwards, while being able to keep it super tight at the back and not let anyone put up a real good lead on them. Interesting, I mean, they're playing a St Etienne team here who's sitting 11th, and Lille, they have slipped up recently. Their last loss was a loss to 19th place Nîmes, so it wouldn't be uncharacteristic for them to slip up here, but you've really got to think with these two teams they have left to play that they can get over the line. St Etienne, on the other hand, they've pretty much got nothing to play for. They're hovering mid-table on the beach, but they have had back-to-back upset wins over 8th place Montpellier and 6th place Marseille, so seemingly they haven't given up on their season as much as they just don't have much to play for. They're still scrapping it out anyway and pulling off some upset wins. Last time they played each other in the league, it was a 1-1 draw back in November, but as much as I as I love some end-of-season drama, I think Lille will get this done. I'm going to say they run out 1-0 winners. Just get the job done. They don't concede much, and they've got enough to get past St Etienne. So yeah, 1-0 win for Lille, and I think this carries on to the last day.
We have Lille versus St Etienne, a game that Lille has to win. 2 games to go, down to the last hurdle in order to be crowned champions of the French league. They're obviously going to put their whole squad into this game. They can't let this last slide. They probably won't get a chance like this ever again. With only 2 games to go, I still think they're going to win this. I will give it a 3-0 win, as St Etienne hasn't been too great this season, being in 11th position. So I'll think Lille will actually win this. Now hopefully nothing will go wrong. These games at the end of the season usually do, but again, we'll definitely see. But I'm going to give a 3-0 win to Lille.
Our 4th and 5th instalment, we're going to be covering the Guinness Pro 14 Rainbow Cup games. First up is Leinster Vs Ulster. Leinster, both myself and Kev's home province. That's about as much as I know about them. Rugby, not a sport I follow extensively. All of this is basically stuff I've pulled off of off of websites, just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because outside of the Six Nations I really don't follow it, so be relying on Kev here for most of the insight. Leinster, they're coming off a 50-21 win over Connacht last week. They've got quite a few injuries, including Johnny Sexton, who's recovering from a concussion, one of the few names on this list I actually recognised. 2 games into the tournament, they have 1 win, 1 loss, and they are the defending champs. They're playing Ulster, who lost 38-10 to Munster last week. Again, they have some injuries. I couldn't tell you who they are or where they play. They've played each other twice this season. Leinster have won both outings, 24-12 and 38-19. Yeah, there's some facts and figures for you, but I'll be honest, this is going to be a complete guess. I'm going to go Leinster as defending champs. Got a big win last week. I'm going to say they come out like 24-10 winners. See how that goes.
In the Pro 14, we have Leinster versus Ulster. Last couple of weeks, we have critics claiming that the Pro 14 isn't as competitive as much. Maybe so, but I like the fact that the four teams in Ireland get to play against each other, unlike the European Championships when the teams are divided into the two pools. But for Leinster, the current European champions, the current Pro 14 champions, they had a bad couple of weeks, getting knocked out with the European champions by La Rochelle, and in the first Pro 14 game against Munster. But they did come back with a win against Connacht last week, so hopefully that will bring their high hopes again. Ulster, who've lost their two previous games, badly needed a win, but despite that, I still think Leinster are stronger, and I'll think they'll go for the win.
Wrapping up this week with the other interprovincial tie between Munster and Connacht. Munster coming off a 38-10 win, as previously mentioned, against Ulster. They're currently top of the table and have a mix of absentees through some IRFU 7s and some injuries, so not going to be at full strength. Connacht, on the other hand, haven't played in quite a while. Their last win, again, was over Ulster, a 26-24 win. They're currently announcing the loss of an Irish international, Quinn Roux, who announced he'll be leaving the province after 7 years there. In terms of their results this tournament so far, they're 1-1 after 2 games. Munster again have done the double over Connacht this year with a 20-17 and a 16-10 win. So these games have been quite tight, not an awful lot between them seemingly. Munster coming out the better on both occasions, so I'll be sticking with the Munster win here, so they can make it 3-3. Again, I'm sort of going to lean into that sort of tight nature of these games and say that they probably come away with like a 24-17 win, just to pluck some numbers out of thin air and aim for that bonus point and see if I get anywhere near it. But yeah, I wouldn't say no in my predictions record that this is going to be entirely in my favour, as I'm coming into this pretty much blind. So yeah, tossing over to Kev here as he comes back with something he probably knows considerably more about than me. So I'd say if you're looking for any betting tips here, you're probably best to look at Kev's predictions over mine right now.
Another Pro 14 match, we have Munster versus Connacht. Munster, who had very bad European season, are now coming out of the Pro 14 competition. It's very sad to see CJ Saunders' retirement, but very glad to see Simon Zebo back in the Munster team again. Great to see him coming up, and hopefully back to the Irish team as well. Despite a great win for Connacht against Ulster, I don't think they'll keep up with Munster's strength. Very good game to watch, but I think Munster will come out with a win.
Alright, so that wraps up episode 5 of Ready for the Weekend. Yeah, Kev pulling away with the scoreline after week 4, so hopefully this week leans slightly more in my favour, but with my rugby knowledge, I highly doubt that that's likely to happen. Drop your predictions in the comments below, like and subscribe if you fancy it. I mean, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? And yeah, I mean, let's see how you get on compared to us, because especially me, I'm on a horrendous run of form with predictions right now, only getting one right last week. So yeah, hopefully come back next week with episode 6. It's a much more eventful weekend. We're probably going to have the second legs of the playoff games, as well as some other nice things floating around there, so be well worth checking out. And yeah, until then, see you next time.